Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to be looking at taking the paint off of this John boat project, and we're going to do it with different ways, with paint stripper, with sanding, with a wire wheel, things like that. I'm going to show you all the steps and mistakes that I've made, things like that, so that way you can kind of be a little more streamlined in your project. So again, you saw in that last video, we took a lot of the parts and pieces off the boat, we flipped it over, took a pressure washer to get that first layer of paint off. But it really left this really thick layer below, and so it was needing a little bit stronger removal process, and so I started with some paint stripper. So we're going to go back in time so you can see that process, some of the paint stripper that I did. And so now we're going to kind of zoom in, and I'll show you what it looks like now, what I've learned from using the paint stripper and sanding and things like that. So let's get started. All right, so these are the two types of paint stripper that I used. So I used this Clean Strip brand paint stripper, and then this Citrus Strip paint stripper as well. So the pros and cons for both, from what I've understand, is both of them are gel, but this Citrus Strip brand is kind of more of a gel. It will stay on the boat when, you know, it kind of on the curve, when it's kind of more vertical, whatever you're sitting it on. So it'll cling to the boat better in those places, where this Clean Strip is probably a little more potent. It'll probably get more layers off, but it's thinner, and so it kind of runs off the boat if you don't watch it. So both of these I was using some plastic that I put over the boat. So I would do this in the evening, put the paint stripper on, put the plastic over the boat, and then let it sit overnight, and the next day take it off. And so I was going to show you what that looks like here. All right, so zoomed in here, this is about, I think, 2 applications of removing the paint. So you can see in some places that it does a good job, some places it doesn't. And I'm not sure the reasoning there, but it's quite a bit of a process, I guess, time-wise. You know, really a lot of it's just sitting there and letting it do its job. So it's not really labor-intensive. You just kind of spread it on and then scrape it off. So there's not much to it that way. So if you don't have a lot of time set at one instance, you can just put this paint stripper on there and let it sit, and then come back, and you have 10 minutes to remove it and then do it again. So that's kind of a good process if or a good method if that's kind of the schedule that you have. All right, so it's been about a day and a half. It's not the most ideal situation. This directions say you can remove it within 30 minutes, but or overnight, and cover it with plastic to keep it wet. But I covered it with plastic, did the stripping, covered it with plastic, and then it rained all afternoon. So it got a little bit of wet under here. I tried to protect it, but it got water mixed in with it, but also I wasn't able to do it the next day because I had to work late. So now I'm back at it to see what happens, see if this stuff works. So we're going to peel back this plastic, and I'm going to try to save this plastic again. Yum. All right, so quite a lot here. Let me try to get you closer. Let's see if you're able to see. Yeah. All right, so you see there, it's pretty gooey. I don't know what else to call it, but it's you can see all the different layers. It did go through that gray layer. Oh man, look at all those layers of paint. Yeah, it went down really through. Oh, there's a brown layer I never saw. So looks like that is down to the bare aluminum there. So I have this really thick gray layer, this light blue, another gray below it, a dark blue, and then a brown, and then the bare metal. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of paint, and then we pressure washed that 6th layer. So looks like most of it's coming up pretty good. Maybe that worked out in my favor to had to let it sit for more like a day and a half. I'm not sure I would do that on like a wood piece of furniture, but at least on this boat it worked. So anyway, this is kind of a slow boring process here. I'm going to try to take as much of this off as I can and then bring it back when I got some sort of stopping point here. All right, so here it is all scraped down from what I could get off in this first try. So I was able to fill up that large cup there with some of the scrapings. A lot of it also ended up on the ground, but you can see it got most of it. There's a few. The middle piece didn't really do a good job. I think maybe I didn't put it on thick enough, or maybe that's where the rainwater kind of got to it more and sat, versus here on the sides that it just maybe trailed off. The back, I don't think I sealed it up well with the plastic because it was dry. A lot of this over here is the actual stripper that's dried on there, and so it didn't really do as good a job. So I'm going to redo that. But I think it did pretty good. It got through that pretty harsh, you know, that thick, this gray layer, whatever this is this really thick paint of some kind, and you can see the line that I made there. It's pretty, you know, pretty neat to see that. We're going to start with the 80 grit sandpaper. All right, I don't know if you can really tell by looking at this, but this was the sanding with 80, then 220. This is sanding with just 80. You might be able to tell the reflection a little bit. This is still a little rougher. And then this down here is with the wire wheel. And this is the stainless wire wheel. And you can see the difference. There you go. See that? You can see the difference in some of the reflection. The wire wheel gets that paint off really quickly, but it leaves some score marks in the aluminum. And I'm not really a fan of that. And it doesn't do a great job of getting the paint off. I'm going to have to go back with the sander. And this being a nice flat area, that I think the sander is likely the best. And then just use the wire wheel up here around the handles and stuff like that. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for this video. So you saw that it took me a while to take all this paint off. It took me several weeks actually. Started out with the paint stripper, got you know, several layers of paint off with that. It worked well in some areas, but some areas it just went through 1-2 layers of paint. It was taking a lot of time, and it was getting kind of expensive actually, getting all of that paint stripper on there, waiting a day or two, scraping it off, doing it again. It doesn't really go that far in that little bottle that you get, so it was getting kind of expensive. And so what I decided to do was just use a wire wheel and a sander. The sander works great when it's a nice flat area, but this wire wheel on the drill bit, I'm not sure what this one's called, this style of wheel, but you saw in the video that I had like the wheel kind, and that one worked out well, but those bristles kind of fall off or break off of that wheel, it seemed like, and then it was unbalanced, and so it was hard to keep it steady. So this one works out better. It's faster, it gets more area off quicker, and it's easier to control, I think. It does put some kind of cool swirls into the aluminum that I'm gonna sand off, I think, with a little bit tighter sandpaper. But for now, I think it's gonna be, I think it worked out well. So hope this helps you out with your project. So starting out with paint stripper works well, gets kind of the main layers. If you just have 1 or 2 layers of paint, that should probably work pretty good. But with mine just being pretty stubborn, I had to go with all, you know, sandpaper, paint stripper, and this wire wheel, the stainless steel wire wheel. So hope this helps you out with your project. Again, stay tuned for the next videos. I'm going to be doing painting the bottom of this boat. I'm going to be working on the transom. There's a lot to do actually. So anyway, I appreciate you sticking around for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.